No, everybody. This is Kyle, and if you're new here, welcome to Knockouts and Three Counts. Tonight we've got an action-packed show for you. I'm fresh back off of my trip to Jacksonville, Florida for AEW Revolution. Thanks to the homie Mega Ran, as you can see in this picture here. We were doing the damn thing. It was a good time. I got tattooed, as you can see, by the wonderful and beautiful past guest of the show, the American Kaiju, Miss Lindsay Snow. And we go over my trip to Jacksonville. And obviously, we've got to talk about the explosion that didn't go boom that went down at AEW Revolution. We also talk about UFC 259 and the banger that was the prelims. And then the disqualification and maybe the dumbest knee I've ever seen in UFC history. So much to talk about on this show, and just what's going on in the world of Jacksonville. You never know if Florida Man's going to show up. Make sure you tune in, and if you haven't done so, hit that subscribe button because you won't want to miss this. Peace. What up, everybody? This is Kyle, and you are back watching, listening, consuming, whatever the fuck you're doing. You're listening to Knockouts and Three Counts, and we appreciate you. We had quite the weekend. Corey, how the hell are you doing, man?
Doing good, man. A little bit of a delayed start on this week's episode, but other than that, man, hanging in there. What about you?
Hey, man, I'm doing all right. I kind of wish I was still in Florida right now, but I'm doing all right. I had a pretty damn good weekend, thanks to past guests of the show, Mega Ran, and your still AEW World Champion, Kenny Omega, for the tickets and letting me go to AEW Revolution. First off, I definitely got to talk about that a little bit. Just like the experience itself, man, it was dude, it was dope. Like I said, it was truly cool. Like I said, if you're following us at any of our social medias, as you should be, at KO3C Pod, you can follow me at Detroit Knockout and him at Fight Fan from the 313. You would see that we just had our buddy Mega Ran on the show this past Thursday, and if you missed it, you can check it out in that top right corner. We were talking about how he made the theme song that you heard at the beginning of AEW Revolution, which, if I do say so myself, which, hey, if I forgot to mention, the world premiere of the full song was here on this here show. So you can check it out at that link in the top right-hand corner. But when we got to the arena, man, to hear his song, he was the song for the beginning of the countdown, and then they played it before the pay-per-view started. Solely away from that, I mean, just as a friend, man, like, it was so dope, like, to be there and experience him get, his stuff, being out there like that. It was really cool. But I got there on Saturday, and first of all, it's fucking bullshit. That's 3 times I went to warm weather state, and 3 times it wasn't hot. I didn't ever get to wear my shorts, my tank top, none of it. I feel gypped.
Kyle, you're bringing that Michigan weather with you everywhere you go, huh?
Well, no, I didn't, because I got home and it was fucking 62 here. So clearly I didn't take it with me. So I just feel like I got gypped. But now that I've gotten my rant about the weather out of the way, yeah, like I said, dude, it was great. Like, we just got there, chilled out a little bit. It was really cool. Isaiah Swerve Scott, which, if you guys have been following us for a little bit, you know that we had Teasy Scott from Swerve City Podcast on the show. Well, his partner in crime, Mr. Isaiah Swerve Scott from WWE NXT, came through. We got to kick it with him for a little bit, and we're watching the fights. And if you've been following us on social media, you would see your boy got some new ink right there. See that?
It looked like the angle was hard to pull off there.
Yeah, it really was, because it kind of wraps around my arm. So, But yeah, shout out to the American Kaiju Lindsay Snow. I got to go there and get tattooed while we were watching the fights, and I won a 3-fight parlay while I was sitting in the tattoo chair. And make sure you've hit that subscribe button because there's a full video of the whole tattoo process. There might be a little bit of familiar music if you were following along last week. And yeah, it was cool, man. We were just shooting the shit, chilling at the chilling, and Swerve was showing us his pig. It was crazy.
His pig.
Yes.
Did I hear that right?
Yes. This man has a full-on pig. Wow. He has a full-on pig. Like, he was showing us pictures.
It's not a miniature or anything like that. It's a full size.
So he said that it's gonna be he said that it's gonna be it's gonna be a skinnier pig. So I don't know if that means it's a miniature or what, but like, yeah, he showed us full-on pictures. Yes, ladies and gents, Swerve Scott has a pig. So make sure you check out his Instagram. But yeah, so we were chilling. He was showing us his pig, and Lindsay's dogs were just loving life because there was 1,000,001 people in there, and I was getting tattooed all while watching the fight. So it was cool.
That's quite the memory to be able to hold with you. Were you able to watch?
I watched all of the
pay-per-view throughout.
I watched all of them, and we were watching the prelims, and dude, that was insane. We're gonna get to the UFC fights and break down our thoughts in a little bit, but yeah, dude, it was cool. We just kicked it and watched the fights. I had a 3-fight parlay. I bet on Dominic Cruz. I bet on Aljo. Thank God for the disqualification, and Amanda Nunes. So your boy came up. Bet $25, came up 122.
I know you say you want to touch on the fights here in a little bit, but can we just, since you brought it up, can we call Petr Yan as dumb could be for throwing that knee in the position that he threw that knee?
100% you can.
Because, I mean, good Lord. I mean, he, as a self-admitted going into the fight, I was a big Aljamain Sterling fan. Still am. Still run for the guy. I actually feel like, given what he was able to do in the first fight and kind of going into a second one, possibly having a little bit of the nervous energy out of the way, I feel like he'll be able to do a lot better in the second fight. But that being said, Petr Yan was still winning. I had it personally. Petr Yan was up 2 rounds in my book to 1 for Aljamain Sterling at that point before they had the unfortunate stoppage there in the 4th round. And man, like I said, you just got to call a spade sometimes, and sometimes you got to call a dumbass. And Petr Yan, man, come on. Look, you're telling me you've been in MMA across multiple promotions and have a very, very great record across them. Only 1 loss before this, and now here you are giving yourself your second one in a UFC title fight because you weren't sure that you weren't supposed to throw knees to somebody's face when they were down on their knees.
Here's the thing.
I mean,
hold on a minute. This motherfucker looked at his coach. He looked at his coach, looked back. The referee clearly said, he's on the ground, and said, he must die. Knee to face. Like, dude.
It was like you could, like, I was watching, I believe it was Dominic Cruz that was saying it. And he kind of was saying exactly how I had felt in the moment. Was like, you could see him almost think about it, put his hand on the back of his neck, think about it again, look at his corner, think about it some more, and then throw it. It was like, you could see the whole thought process and everything, like, I shouldn't. I don't think I can. You know what? Maybe I can. I'm not sure. You know what? I'm going to. And then, you know what? The fight's over. And it's just man, like, what an unfortunate way to end a fight that I was so hyped up for. It honestly really took away a lot of my my hype on the rest of the night. It really made like the card not unwatchable or anything like that, but it just made it so much harder to have my emotions in it like I normally would.
Like I
Man,
said, man, we were watching that there, and it's like, I'm not saying, look, I didn't really think the title should have changed hands, but at the same time, I'm not one for, fights being ended off of one shot. But dude, that was a bad shot.
Yeah.
And even if they didn't stop it, you can't tell me that shot doesn't change that fight.
Well, what exactly?
There's no way that
what
fight
are you going to do? Are you going to take away 1 point and expect it to be like
that's fair
or something like that? But it's not, though, because he's going to stand up.
That's what I mean. That's I'm being sarcastic.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is because he stands up. Well, just to clarify for anybody who might have not, he stands up. They take a point away. Maybe they give him the full 5 minutes. He's still fuzzy as could be. I mean, you've seen him in Aljamain Sterling, and this somehow makes it to you. Stop doing all these damn interviews, man. Give it a week or two. Let the media hype die down a little bit, please, because you're not doing yourself any favors out there. And this is a fan. I preference that beforehand. But that post-fight interview that he did while still semi-concussed and stuff like that, man, it was just, he's not doing himself any favors. He needs to just sit back, relax, give it, like I said, about a month.
And all these pictures with the belt, like with the fuck you balloon, like why? You didn't beat the man. Like,
it was a funk for
whatever,
Funkmaster,
man.
but I know I could see how it could be misconstrued.
Whatever, man. You know what he meant.
Yeah.
And if you read the caption, he's like, to all of you who say I don't deserve this. Come on, man. You know what he meant. And look, I'm not even saying I blame the man for feeling that way. But what I'm saying here is that you did not straight up beat the man.
No.
You didn't. I'm not mad that you won, because you made me $122. Thank you, sir. But at the same time, you didn't straight up beat him. I'm not mad that you have the title, and I believe you should have won that fight, because that's bullshit. Yeah. But you got to beat that man again.
You can't so blatantly break the rules like that and have no real consequences. I understand.
You can't let that fight continue after that.
Part of me understands why a lot of people are going out there right now saying the fact of like, oh, the belt shouldn't have changed hands and stuff. But realistically, what other option is there? Because
what are you going to do? Then make the title vacant?
That's what I was going to say.
You can't give it back to Peter Yan.
Yeah, and
hell no, you can't give that back to Peter Yan.
This kind of is a path to least resistance, I guess you could say, because it leads directly right into an immediate rematch.
Good, and that's what should happen.
Yep, and maybe the UFC wasn't necessarily going to lean that way with the way the fight was playing out. So good on Aljamain in two regards: the fact that he'll get another crack at that belt, and the fact that not only he'll get a crack at the belt, but he's actually the belt holder. So he'll go down, no matter what asterisk or whatever you want to put next to his name. Whenever you list UFC bantamweight champions for the rest of history, Aljamain Sterling will be on that list. And say what you will about this fight, but I said it going into this fight that I thought that fight with him versus Corey Sandhagen should have been for the belt. And with that logic, he would have been the champion anyway. So is what it is. He's another name on the well-deserved UFC bantamweight champions list, in my opinion.
I agree. But before we get to the rest of the card, there's still so much to talk about.
Oh, absolutely.
From Jacksonville and
I just couldn't let that
Revolution.
I couldn't let that go unsaid.
No problem. I got no problem with that. But it was insane, bro. So then we're getting over to Sunday. You get to pay-per-view day. First of all, everything in Jacksonville, that city is so spread out. Like everything is about like 30 minutes apart.
Okay.
Like everything's about 30 minutes apart.
In regards of like what? The different venues or like your hotel?
Like if you were gonna go do something, like like the tattoo shop was 35 minutes from the Airbnb we were in.
Well, was that because of placement from where you guys were, or was that because necessarily?
It's just they even said it themselves. It's like everything there is kind of just all spread out. Jacksonville's like a real spread out city. So we had our hotel closer to where Daly's place is. we get there. We got there a little bit early, and it was dope. Like right as we walk in, they're playing Rand's song. Like right as we walk in, it's on the loudspeaker.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, like they're playing Rand's song, and it was dope. It was cool just to hear that. And we were there with the guy from you. Have you ever seen the coats, the nerds coats? They're kind of like the chalk line jackets.
It sounds familiar, but
the guy who makes all those coats, we were kicking it with him. He was there from New York.
Okay.
So like, dude, we were running into people left and right. Like I said, we ran into Swerve and we were kicking it with him for a little bit. We were obviously Lindsay tattooed me, and then we were gonna link up with Swole too. So like I said, it was cool in that regard. But then we get in there and we go up to the will call, and he's got his tickets and we got ours. And like I said, man, it was just so cool to be that close to it. Like if you look at any of the pictures on our Instagram, again, follow us at KO3C Pod. You can see all of what I'm saying. We were about as close as you could have got to the ring for the exploding barbed wire death match, for all that, short of being on the floor with the talent.
What was that experience like before you just graze over that? Because you were in that videos and the clips and stuff that are out on Twitter and stuff that I've seen.
Fucking viral, dude. That clip of him.
Well, that view, you weren't kidding. You were roughly about 10 feet away from the ring, it looked like.
I'd say 20, 30 feet, but yeah.
Okay, well, videos are deceiving, so it looked.
I zoomed in a little bit, but I was as close as you could get, short of being a talent.
Right.
Like all the talent, you had the heels on one side and the baby faces on another side. We were sitting behind the heels, and ironically ended up being sitting right behind the guy who was controlling all the pyro.
Right. I remember you telling me a little bit of the inside or behind baseball type facts with that.
Well, we're gonna talk about that. But like I said, man, for starters, it was dope to go there because like I said, you really couldn't have got much closer. But yeah, dude, overall, I thought the show itself, I thought was really good. And that's what sucks, because overall the show was good. I thought the ladder match was good. It was cool to see the debut of Ethan Page, although it was kind of funny because I'm thinking he just left Impact. Impact and AEW are like partnered up at this point. So like he didn't really go too far. But then again, he's on his own now though, where he's been part of the North, which was a great tag team in Impact. They were multi-time champions. They're a damn good tag team. So for him to be back on his own now is going to be interesting, and I think he'll do very well. But that ladder match was pretty good. Cody Rhodes goes out pretty early in the match. They were saying he had dislocated his shoulder or something like that. Comes back in, does the rest of the match, and you had quite the roster of guys in there. And then Scorpio Sky, a guy who, hot damn, I've been saying for so long that this dude needed to get a shot. I mean, that he's an athlete. When he's gotten on the mic, the man can talk, and he couldn't be a cooler guy. Like, I met him in Chicago when we were at StarCast 3, as you can see in the picture. If you're watching this on YouTube, yes, it's not up there on the Facebook yet, but the like I said, it couldn't happen to a better guy. So for him to get the win, it was dope. I honestly kind of thought Ethan Page might get it with him being the new guy in there, but he came in and took some nasty bumps and got right to it. So it wasn't like he came in and they were babying him because he's the new guy or whatever, whatever the case is. It was, like I said, good match. The Jurassic Express match with, the Jurassic Express match was good. The tag team battle royal. With the tag team battle royal, I feel like it kind of like, even though they say they're very tag team oriented, I just felt like maybe there were some other tag teams that should have been in there. And that's kind of the problem when you have like, where if you watch AEW, you know, like Jericho's had all the different incarnations of tag teams with him. Like we saw a couple different teams from the Dark Order, which Stu Grayson and Evil Uno, I want to see more of these guys because, like I said, anyone that's ever watched them, those guys are fun to watch. It was good to see them in there. You saw Austin Gunn and Colton Gunn, Billy Gunn's sons were in there. A lot of good teams, and ultimately Pac and Phoenix won. I like this Death Triangle team that they've got. Pentagon was in the Face of the Revolution ladder match. That's why he wasn't with Phoenix. But Pac and Phoenix won, which means they're going to get a tag team title shot. Again, that was pretty good too. But it just sucks because as you heard, if you listen to Busted Open, I fully admit that somewhere I listen to those guys every day, Dave LaGreca and Bully Ray. And the one thing that was resounding on Twitter, if you watch this show, was the fact that there's two things that people were talking about that night. We weren't talking about all the dope matches that happened. There were some duds, but there are on a lot of cards.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much every major card has their faults.
But I mean, all in all, I mean, it was a roller coaster ride. Even before I get to the main event, man, Sting's match. They did such a good job with that. They played that on the screen for those of us who were there live because that was when they were setting up the ring for the barbed wire match. And production wise, it was so dope. It really was well done. I liked what Sting did. Brian Cage, who you can see the link right there if you're watching on YouTube, or if you guys are following us on Facebook, the link to our YouTube is in there as well. We got to interview him at Warrior Wrestling last June. Brian Cage showed why he is called the fucking Machine. This man picked Darby Allin up in a full suplex. So picked him up, suplex, carried him up the stairs in a fucking suplex. Held the man up there, like straight vertical suplex all the way up a flight of stairs.
That's got to be easy to do, huh?
Yeah, sure. I just do that to get ready in the morning.
Right.
I pick the dog up. I picked the dog up on my way to work. Oh, shit. Let me get my shoulder workout in. Yeah, the fuck right.
Right.
Like, that man is a savage. I hope we see him get a run with the world title at some point. Brian Cage is a fucking machine, like he says. But yeah, all in all, man, the production of it was so. Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask because it seemed like you had kind of done most of the rap on like the details of the card. Why do you think it just didn't live up to people's expectations? I mean,
here's why. I'm getting to it because it wasn't the match itself. Right. It's the fact that and it was a cinematic match, meaning it was pre-taped. It was in like a beaten down warehouse, and like when Sting and Darby Allin came in, there were like two lines of guys that all had Sting paint on. And the problem with it, they had 4 guys on commentary in there. Here's the thing. If you're fighting in an abandoned building, I don't fucking want to hear nobody talking. Let me hear the action. You know what I mean?
Or at least have somebody maybe like talk, 1 or 2 guys talk over the background, not 4 competing for mic time over the action.
Right. And from everything I could see from the clips from the commentary, again, obviously I was there to ring the bell, but I didn't get to hear that live. But you had Taz on commentary, which, mind you, Brian Cage and Ricky Starks are Team Taz. So it's like I said, as far as the match itself, production quality, cool spots, Like, dude, they had a spot where he fucking flung him through a glass window and shit. Like, threw him through they had this giant window pane sitting there, and they just tossed his ass back first through it. And like I said, stuff like the suplex thing. Sting had quite a few cool things in there. But
it looked like he was able to take some of the bumps and bruises pretty well. I haven't heard anything necessarily come out after the fact of him being bumped up too bad or anything.
No, man. That, so. I mean, like I said, the match itself, I enjoyed it. Watching it without the commentary, I enjoyed it.
The commentary was that bad for you, though. Huh?
Well, I didn't hear, but I'm saying I've only seen the clips of it because I was there. So, but I'm saying that's been the number one criticism of that match was everybody didn't like the commentary because they said the reason why they didn't like it is because with all of them talking, it made it distracting.
Absolutely.
When
so you haven't went it back and watched the card with all the commentary yet? Then
No, but like I said, that was the number one criticism when it came to the street fight with Ricky Starks and Brian Cage and Sting and Darby Allin. But like I said, I enjoyed it. Like I said, I enjoyed the match. Like I said, all I've heard is about the commentary issues. And anybody who's watching, please feel free to let us know what you think of the commentary, and if so, if you watched it, if it bothered you. And then here's the other thing. So you had obviously they had the big announcement. There was supposed to be a big signing. The signing ended up being Christian Cage. I personally, as a 90s kid, am not mad at seeing Christian there. I do think it was cool that they brought him in, being that he was just in the Royal Rumble for WWE last month.
Yeah. That's a very quick turnaround too.
Right. But at the same time, it's like, it's again, the way they hyped it versus what they were able to deliver is where the issue is. Because Tony Khan got on multiple things, and on Busted Open he was talking about how it's one of his 3 favorite superstars, and it's a Hall of Fame quality caliber talent, and all of those things are true. I'm not denying any of that, but I think with the way they hyped it up and the way the internet is it just added gasoline, and then everybody's all, oh my God, who is it? Is it Brock Lesnar? Is it CM Punk? Is it,
How about Kurt Angle?
Kurt Angle, that was the other name I was going to say
Kurt
too.
Angle trolling and of the course whole wrestling world.
He's trolling like a son of a bitch, and I don't blame him. And because you're talking about him, aren't you?
I am so here for it. It made me laugh so hard because I seen the video, right? And I was like, okay, Kurt Angle, my man's coming out of retirement. He's got the gold medal coming around his neck. He's here. He's ready for it. And then it wasn't the signing, and I'm like, oh, I see what you did over there, Kurt. I see what you did. You just want to keep your name going and circulating. And like you said, what a better way to do it. It was like
are we not talking about it right now?
Yeah, it was like a 30-second promo video, but man, did it hit nail on the head. It couldn't have been better.
Yeah, man. It's like I said. So, I mean, I think those were the only names that were going to really satisfy the hype that was created. And I don't think that that's all AEW's fault, but I mean,
is AEW going about this the right way with trying to build up older stars just to draw in an audience? Well, because I feel like they brought in a lot of attention with like the Big Show and stuff like that, who they just brought in as well. But at the same point, it kind of goes along, not to necessarily relate it to something else, but to kind of relate it to what I know. There's a reason why Bellator kind of keeps itself in that B class, is because they just end up signing a lot of people who were famous in another industry or another organization, and now try to generate hype off of what they used to be somewhere else.
Here's the thing. With Christian brings a lot of value. Christian brings a lot of value to their locker room too. Because you got to remember, this guy's done it all.
Yeah.
There ain't nothing that guy ain't done. Been world champion, been multi-time tag team champion, gonna be a Hall of Famer. I mean, dude, there's not really anything you can say.
Is it?
But here's the thing. It's the same problem that people would say when TNA was around. They would call it WWE Light because they had a lot of old WWE guys there. Now, again, I am not mad at all being a 90s kid seeing Christian in there, but I feel like you have to be careful of.
You don't want to oversaturate yourself and get overconnected with a different market, essentially, and then you end up losing the ability to be associated as yourself compared to being associated with somebody else every time the thought comes up of you. So that's why I brought that up, is because you definitely don't want to go that route. I mean, that's been notoriously an issue with Bellator, and they're starting to get better with building their homegrown talent. But I kind of see it in the same path. Like, they're trying to be that legitimate number two and possibly even try to work their way into taking a number one slot. But the way to do that is to build homegrown talent that has.
And I mean, they've got guys there like Scorpio Sky, who I just talked about, winning the face in the Revolution match. You know, you've got, I mean, there's other guys there like Jungle Boy, who you can make. I mean, like I say, I mean, they've got guys. It's just there's nothing wrong with bringing in guys who. There's nothing wrong with
star value.
Who have that star value. It makes people talk. But again,
you
gotta. It's the same thing with WWE, right? Like, if WWE screwed up, the internet would eat them alive. They do all the time. Look at how everybody's been talking about Raw for the last year and a half.
Longer than that.
I'm just saying, this whole pandemic, people have been talking about how bad Raw's been. So, I mean, when you look at that, and then AEW's taking shots at it, you got to deliver.
Yeah.
And I mean, that gets to the main event. Now, before I get to the finish and what happened, the match itself was dope. Like, the match itself was dope. I'm not mad at what happened on the in-betweens of the match or the body of the match itself. There were a few things that really didn't make sense to me. And when me and Derek and Mega Ran were sitting there, I looked at them and said the same thing. Like, when you see a traditional exploding barbed wire death match, the ropes are completely gone. It's all barbed wire. And they had the ropes, but had barbed wire all around them. And then, like, if you're coming down from the entranceway, those ropes, when you first get in, looked like there wasn't barbed wire so you could get in the ring. So a couple of those things were a little bit, when they were first setting it up, I'm like, what? Okay. But the body of the match was dope. As you can see from the clips that are on our Twitter and on our Instagram and things like that, dude, it was cool. It was dope. But then you get towards the end of the match, and Kenny and Moxley are bleeding like a damn sieve and are all beaten to hell. And here come the Good Brothers, Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows, come down there and beat the dog shit out of them. And then Kenny finally gets the one-winged angel and pins him 1, 2, 3. But then they beat the hell out of Mox for like 10 minutes after that, which is why I wonder if maybe it went shorter than it was supposed to. Because, man, they were beating the shit out of him for a while. And then, I mean, seriously, if you watch it, it was a good, I mean, it might not have been 10 minutes, but it was a good few minutes, man, where they were beating him up for a minute. Finally, remember, you were watching Full Gear with me. Eddie Kingston, of all people, comes out to come save him, and they were beating the hell out of each other, you know. But because that used to be his homie, he came out, made the save, and then here comes the big time clock for the final explosion, which I didn't understand it because he had already won the match. But they handcuffed Mox to the ropes, or they were trying to handcuff him to the ropes. Eddie Kingston comes out and makes the save, covers him up because it's supposed to blow because the clock's going down, and then the sparklers go out, and then no explosion. And God bless Eddie Kingston, trying to sell it. But man, I felt so bad because I mean, think about that if you're Moxley, right? You just beat the living dog shit out of yourself for 30 minutes.
Yep.
You've got this big story-driven, climactic, when we talk about a story in a match, that's the story. He's getting the hell beat out of him, and who the hell comes to come save him? It's Eddie Kingston. And then the explosion, which was supposed to make the whole thing, didn't happen. And it sucked because, like I said, I was there with Lindsay getting my tattoo, and she had said she saw the run through and said how dope it was. But, it just was such a bummer because, at the end of the day, it's like we always talk about when it comes to fights. You can win 4 rounds out of a fight, and then a guy knocks your ass out or catches you in a choke. Or in this case, you can have a great card start to finish, but the main reason people are watching that is to see the exploding barbed wire death match, and there was no boom.
Yeah, kind of. You could see even like the referee was in there. He was like expecting the bang when things started to go off. He's jumping in the air, and it's like
well, because you got to remember there's story to it, because like the referee was connected to that story too, because he came up through the indies with them too. They talked about that leading up to the Eddie Kingston match. So like, again, if that boom would have worked, the story that they put together, you got Remsburg as the ref, and he came up with them. You got Eddie Kingston and Moxley, Moxley and Omega just beat the dog shit out of each other. And then who comes to make the save but his homie Eddie Kingston? Like I said, the story of it would have been fire, but I mean, at the end of the day, the point I'm making is people remember the finish.
And it sucks because it's not necessarily on the athletes or anything that they did.
That ain't got nothing to do with the guys in the ring, because they did a damn good job.
They did
a damn good job, dude. Like,
it's a nature of production sometimes, especially when you're doing things live. It doesn't always go as planned, and unfortunately, that's another case of that.
It just sucks because it's like all that hard work that was put in leading up to it. It's almost like it's all for naught, because what people are going to remember is that didn't blow. Unfortunately, that's going to be the sad truth of it. So I'm interested to see what happens here on AEW Dynamite. I mean, Tony Khan came out and said, Kenny's plan didn't work and all this good stuff. Excuse me, ladies and gents. I'm just charging the old laptop here. But like I say, man, he tried to do the best he could to cover it. And Moxley, after the show, which if you check out our Instagram, we got footage of the what Mox said after the pay-per-view. And he's like, Kenny Omega, he's a tough son of a bitch, but he can't build an exploding barbed wire ring for shit. And so like they did the only thing they could do and made fun of themselves.
Yeah. I mean, that's really all you can do, because it's going to be spread amongst the wrestling world. That's for sure. That the dud of the night, I guess you could call it,
And that's the thing. I hate to say it, man, but I mean, it is what it is. I mean, ultimately, that's what you promised. That's what you were building the whole thing on, and
it's funny too, because it just so happens to happen at one of the first events where they happen to have like a fairly decent fan base back. So like normally you might have had some ability to maybe be on like some type of tape delay in the live recording or something like that, where you could have sent it out in a different way or somehow edited it to make it look like it wasn't necessarily the case, but because there's fans there and everything going.
We talked about that, right? Like me and Megaran and Derek were talking about it. We were like, dang. I mean, obviously they didn't know the boom wasn't going to work,
right.
Or they would, I'm sure they would have, planned accordingly. But we were like, dang, man, like when it didn't come up, when the sparklers started to come up and you realized the boom wasn't going to come, why didn't you just fade right to black? So you're wondering, oh shit,
what happened? Yeah,
what happened? But I mean, really, I feel so bad for the guys in the ring.
Yeah, you got to, because like I said, it's no fault of their own, but at the same point,
and like I said, the story was great. The story was great. They did everything. I mean, like they did everything they could, minus some of the things we said. Like I said, I would have liked to seen some different things with the ring or whatever. But I mean, if we're talking about just the match and the story that they tried to put together with that, dude, that would have been great. Think about that. He's laying over top of him and 3, 2, 1, boom. And you go off the air.
Yeah, be an interesting way to end it. That's for damn sure.
You'd have people talking, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Social media would have went nuts.
Yeah. It definitely would have. It's funny how that's the type of stuff anymore that don't get the clickbait, but absolutely that would have.
Well, I mean, look at that clip that we posted, bro. That clip had 3,000 views within 20 minutes of me posting it.
Yeah, people were interested. It was blowing up. It's trending all over Twitter. I noticed because every time I post about UFC the night before, people were tagging it. It was in trending, even before the night of the actual event. So people were definitely hyped for it, and it's unfortunate, like you said, that it just didn't live up to the expectations.
And it's not saying that the show was bad,
right?
I'm not at all saying the show was bad. By no means am I saying it's bad, but you got to call it what it is, man. With that explosion not happening the way it was supposed to,
yeah,
that really put a big damper on it.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, with some of the matches shining through and some of them not as much earlier in the night, it kind of, at least you hope on nights like that you have like a big shining star at the end to kind of put the cap on it.
Well, and that's not to say that the matches were bad,
No,
like they weren't.
It was just a mixed bag. There was good and there was mixed. And like I said, on those type of nights, you just hope you hope that the one at the end of the night kind of makes up for it all, I guess you could say.
And I mean, you couldn't have teed it up for anything better. I mean, for an exploding barbed wire death match, I mean, that could have, I mean, if that would have worked the way it's supposed to, I mean, I would imagine that's got to be about the biggest cherry on top you could have possibly.
See, and all right, not to jump right into the UFC events, but I feel like that was kind of the complete opposite of what we've seen with those, is the fact that the prelims, even the early prelims, were absolutely amazing throughout.
Oh, yeah.
And then you get to the main card, and you had Alexander Rakic and Thiago Moises kind of play games with each other. And then you had, or Thiago Santos. I don't know why I said Moises. Then you make it your way into the Islam Makhachev, Drew Dober fight. And you see Drew Dober with next to no takedown defense, unfortunately. And we seen a lackluster kind of performance on that in that fight. Because it seemed like Islam wasn't necessarily chasing the finish enough for somebody who was as dominant looking as he was. It was like, if you're this good and able to get yourself to this position so easily, why aren't you able to advance it, or at least try to mix in a little more ground and pound to advance towards the finish?
So that was the part that didn't make sense to me. I wasn't mad that he didn't get a finish, but he didn't even try to do any ground and pound, or
he didn't try to advance. He got to half guard and sat there because he knew it was the easiest position to control from, which I completely get. You're trying to win the fight, not necessarily win the fans.
He's not trying to get style points, but I mean, they're touting this guy as the next Khabib. That wasn't the next Khabib, let me tell you.
No, but it was absolutely a dominant fight against a very legitimate 155 contender who needs to work on his wrestling defense.
Sure, I'm not saying that he didn't look good. I'm just saying not.
And then, like I was saying,
that's not a statement performance.
like I was saying earlier in the show, and then you lead those into the title fights, right? So I'm thinking, here I am going in from these amazing early prelims to these amazing prelims into a mediocre first two fights, and I'm like, okay, here's what I've been waiting for weeks. 3-fight main card pay-per-view. Here we go. Big time. And then honestly, I mean, with the way that bantamweight fight ended, there was just, it really took the fight out of me for the night, I guess you could say.
And I think it did for a lot of people, because then you got to the Nunez fight and she just blew her shit out. And like, how fast did she submit her?
Oh, I think it was 2 minutes in roughly. And in the 2 minutes before that was just complete dominance. It looked like Megan Anderson had absolutely nothing for Nunez at all. And it's very unfortunate in that regard. Absolutely.
So, yeah, man. Like I say, I don't even know how else to put it. It took the wind out of the sails. Then you had the Megan Anderson Nunez fight. Like I said, she absolutely dominated her. Then you get to the main event, and I mean, it wasn't a bad fight, but realistically, bro, it wasn't the most entertaining fight.
It didn't live up to expectations. You were thinking either Jan was going to win, and he was, or not Jan, these Russian and Polish names. You were thinking that Blachowicz was going to go in there and either get a knockout, catch Izzy slipping, or Izzy was going to do what he's done to everybody else on his climb into this position, which was just get a ripping, slipping, quick, hooking shot.
You thought he was going to catch him, but again, if you remember before this fight, what did I say? I said this whole fight was going to depend on how Jan fought. I said if Jan,
we were both saying that.
I know, but I was saying if Jan didn't blitz him, I didn't know how much of a chance Izzy was going to have knocking him out, because most of Izzy's knockouts, he catches guys when they come in crazy, or he catches them on a counter shot. Not saying that he couldn't set him up, but with the way that Jan fights, if he came in and blitzed him, I think there's much more of a chance that he might have gotten knocked out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so with that, and the fact that he got to take him down and all that, I feel like there wasn't really, I don't know,
it wasn't the most action-packed fight, especially being the fact that it was two strikers fighting a striking battle. You would think that Izzy would have found a way to either take control, or Jan would have landed one of those, it should be patented at this point, Polish power bombs, and it didn't play out that way. And then, like you said, with Jan being in the last couple of rounds, just kind of controlling him to get the finish, it was not the finish, but the unanimous decision. It was not what I was expecting. I think not a lot of us fans were expecting that, but sometimes that's how those pay-per-view plan, that's how they play out from time to time, unfortunately.
Like I say, I mean, all in all, I mean, the prelims more than made up for it, but we've got another banger of a card coming at the end of this month. You've got Stipe and Ngannou. I can't wait to see that card. I can't wait to see those fights. There's plenty to talk about there. We're getting towards the end of our time here. Make sure you guys stay on, and make sure, again, you hit that subscribe button, because like I said, I just got some dope ink from the American Kaiju Lindsay Snow. And hey, I'm going to just say this might be coming to a t-shirt near you real soon. But like I said, we're going to be bringing out our video of the whole tattoo experience. You're going to get to see her do the tattoo in a little bit of a time-lapse thing. So like I say, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You can check out the whole thing. We talked with Lindsay about an injury update, seeing how her knee was doing. We got her thoughts on some of the fights. And like I said, we were watching the UFC as I got tattooed. So here's some of our live thoughts as we were watching the fights. And just come kick it, have a good time. Let us know what you think. And if you look at our Instagram, let me know what you think of that tattoo. And as always, we will be back here this Thursday, 9 p.m. You know the place. You know the time. Corey, is it too early to say that can I just go back to Jacksonville or do something again this weekend?
It is, especially seeing how it's been entirely too long since I've been able to do anything for that matter.
Excuse me, sir. You were invited.
Invitation and money lining up in the shortest month of the year are two completely different things.
I'm not
for any of my fellow grinders out there worrying about mortgage and everything every week, keep it up. We can do it. This house
I ain't mad at you, bro. Soon. I'm just saying it's not because I didn't. It's not because you weren't invited.
No, I know it. And for everybody out there,
I'm putting this out in the ether right now. Me, Megaran, and Derek were talking about it in Florida. I told them that they need to fly out and we need to go check out one of the Warrior Wrestling Stadium Series shows that's going to be in Chicago in the month of June. I went last year. It was one of the coolest shows that I've been to. It was cool. It was socially distanced. Everybody was spaced out. Good weather. Chicago's got plenty to do. Hopefully it'll be opened up more by then, and there will probably be other shows surrounding it. Last time we were there, we got to interview Filthy Tom Lawler and Brian Cage when we were there. So who knows just what the hell we're going to get into come Chicago. And if you're adding Megaran and Derek with me, sounds like a good time. So Corey, you don't got no excuses.
Well, Chicago is just a good old drive away, so I can't complain about that too bad. You know what I mean?
Right, and their tickets aren't that expensive. And like I said, they showed mad love last year and really hooked it up. So I'm gonna need you to come out the Hermit House and come check out Warrior Wrestling with us.
But the wood walls are treating me so great. How am I supposed to ever leave?
Get out and see the world, my friend. You'll enjoy it. And until next time, and in the in-between time, make sure you check us out this Thursday at 9 p.m. And if you haven't already done so, peep the Bloodsport shirt here. Check out Bloodsport. Check out past guests of the show, Nolan Edward and Filthy Tom, and be here this Thursday at 9 p.m. Peace.